So if I may, I would like to ask Helena to unmute herself. Helena is globally known for her work on inclusion and diversity and named as one of Fortune magazine's 50 greatest leaders. In 2010, she founded the 30% Club, a successful campaign for better gender balanced boards. She's a serial Ned now, chairing the diversity project, amongst other things. That's a campaign aimed at improving diversity across all dimensions in the investment industry, and it includes the organisation I spoke about, the Talk About Black initiative. Now, what she's going to do is she's going to share some of the key things that work for the 30% Club, and there's key success factors. As an ally and somebody who I've benefited from and trust a great deal, she's going to talk about some of the techniques around allyship, and she will help you in your own environment and in your own situation to work out how you can highlight and make key allies more valuable in terms of what we're trying to achieve together. So Helena, thank you ever so much. We look forward to listening to you.
Thank you so much, Raj, and thank you so much for inviting me to be part of tonight's event. It's a great honour to be part of it, and I first of all want to address the elephant in the room, if I can be described as an elephant, and that is why as a white woman, and perhaps someone that you might think of as a privileged white woman, speaking about racial equality, or have the floor anyway at an event on racial equality. And I would understand why you might question that, but I do want to talk about the power of allyship, and I want to talk about as well the power of seizing the moment. A lot has been said already, and through your poll that you've already conducted, about this being a fantastic opportunity. And if I can in any way encourage or support what you're doing, both through being an ally, but also by helping you seize this moment, which is, I think, a really spectacular opportunity, one that often doesn't occur for any group, then I would be pleased to have been part of it. And I hope that you will bear with me while I tell you a bit of my story about why I've learned through my own career and through the work of 30% Club about the power of allyship, and about the need to really welcome other people who might not be part of your own group, who might not actually have experienced what you're going through, in terms of, you know, if you're really interested in getting results, which I know you are. Now, I've got to say that, you know, I appreciate that the story of, you know, being a young woman in the city when I started over 30 years ago doesn't, say, compare to any experience of racial discrimination. But it was a very different environment then in the city than we're used to now. And I was, you know, the only woman in a team of 16 fund managers. And you know, it was an environment where sexist banter and discrimination, harassment were very much, you know, the normal order of the day. And I struggled in that environment. So although I'm completely aware that I don't have the right in some ways to talk about what you might have experienced, in fact, I have learned more about racial experiences through my son-in-law, who is Ghanaian, and I have now 2 mixed-race grandchildren, and through his eyes I have seen things quite differently. But 30 years ago, as a young woman in the city and as quite a shy person at the time, lacking in confidence, I really struggled. And actually, when I had my first child, age 25, and I was passed over for promotion, I asked my boss, you know, what I need to do differently, what areas of my performance did I need to improve. And he said, oh, no, there's nothing wrong with your performance, but there is some doubt over your commitment with a baby. Now, absolutely no one would ever say that these days, because there's lots of laws against that and people are aware of what they shouldn't say. But they might still think it. And I'm very conscious that there are lots of implicit and subtle biases that people carry. Now, in my second job, the immediate one that I took on next, where I started in a very, very lowly position in the firm, I was so desperate to get out of that first company, I really had a true ally, someone who championed me, someone who defended me from any sexist remarks. He made me stand on my own 2 feet, but I felt secure in the knowledge that the ground was there beneath me and I had his support. And the impact on my career because of his involvement was amazing. Within 7 years of joining that company in a very junior role, I'd become the CEO. So I was the exact same person, same aptitude, same, you know, desire to work hard and to seize opportunities. But in that first job, I was a complete failure in the eyes of the world. In that second, I really became a success. So a true ally made that happen, made that difference. Now, allies have made all the difference in the outcomes of various campaigns that I have started, principally to start with around helping women. And I realized that there might be some people thinking, well, the 30% Club sort of helped white women who are very similar to some of the men that they've, whose positions they've taken on in boardrooms. But actually, you know, that felt at the time when we started like a really big mountain to climb. And I would fully concede, and now the 30% Club is very much looking to hire or to encourage and to support ethnic minority people, not just women, to achieve board positions and C-suite positions as well. But at the time when I started, you know, before it, a women's network, you know, again, it was a complete failure, if I'm honest. I was the CEO, so in theory I had the power. But several years later, despite glowing feedback and lots of people joining the network, there was really very little difference in the numbers of women making it through to senior positions, and a lot was still leaving. And I was very conscious that the environment that we were operating in, the city, was also very, you know, difficult still for women. When I was running money, when I was a fund manager, all my competition weren't just all men, but they were all men called Paul. So, you know, I was really conscious that that it was very difficult still for women. Now, like all other business leaders and like you all today, I'm really results focused. And I knew there were loads of ambitious women, talented women, and I just concluded that the efforts were off target, that what I was doing just was wrong. It was like, you know, a footballer trying to score a goal, but always shooting off target. They're never going to make any difference, never going to get the goal in. So I then started to read widely around behavioral change, and I realized that I was making quite a lot of mistakes. And the first one was that women talking to women about women's issues wasn't going to get us very far. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge supporter of networks. I think, you know, it's incredibly important to talk to each other about what we might be experiencing, but we need more than that. We need people in power to champion us, whether we're in a racial minority, whether we're LGBT, whether we're disabled. That we need to have people who are in the seats of power, not just vaguely saying that they'll support us, but actively championing us because they truly believe that it will improve their results. So that was one of my recognitions. And then I also appreciated, after doing a bit of reading, that we needed measurable goals. I mean, we run our businesses and so many aspects of our lives with clear aspirations. And yet in this instance, basically, we were just sort of having lots of events and hoping that would translate into actions and results. And of course, that wasn't happening. Now, this was the genesis of the 30% Club, having a clear goal and actually asking the chairman of boards, chairman of FTSE companies, 250 companies, to improve the representation of women in their own boardrooms. They had the authority to do that. This is why their allyship was so critical, that actually they held the levers of power. And the results were phenomenal, really. It completely exceeded my own expectations, especially after having had such a difficult time before in terms of improving the percentage of women in the investment industry and in my own firm at the time. We went from less than 10% female representation on FTSE and FTSE 250 company boards in the UK to over 30% today. It's actually at 33% now. And there's only one all-male board. I'm not sure how they withstand the pressure, really, but anyway. So these men, the chairmen, were true allies. They actively campaigned. They actually competed with each other to appoint women to their boards. And I now realize, you know, that being an ally, it's not just about being a friend. It's not just about sort of patting someone on the shoulder and being perhaps a little bit condescending. The word ally derives from the Latin word, and I didn't study Latin at school. I went to a state school, they didn't offer it. It derives from the word allegare, and that means to bind together. So this is more than just an alignment of goals. This is not just saying, oh, yes, I really want to have more, ethnic minority people in senior positions. This is actually saying we have the same goal. And the chairman of the 30% Club genuinely believed, maybe not at the beginning, they were often quite antagonistic at the start, but eventually, and partly because of the timing, which was the other main success factor, they genuinely believed and acted as though they believed that having better gender balanced boards was in their own interests, not a matter of political correctness. Now, if we fast forward, today, of course, our efforts around diversity and inclusion go way beyond gender, and I'm obviously delighted about that. I always thought that gender was just a starting place because it was, so obvious that if you had half the population being woefully underrepresented, then you would get the conversation going about why were other groups underrepresented as well. And of course, it is a great thing this year that there has been such a focus on ethnicity, and particularly around the Black Lives Matter. I know that many, many business leaders are frustrated about the slow pace of change. They think they've been doing quite a lot. They've been signaling the importance of these issues. They've been supporting events. They have supported special diversity programs, and yet they've seen little evidence of a real breakthrough. And the pressure is mounting, as it did around women on boards. The reason why the 30% Club was sort of hit the zeitgeist moment, was because of the financial crisis. So although obviously that was a terrible thing, there was this kind of moment to change, moment to seize, when people recognized that they couldn't carry on as before. And right now, I think we really have that realization. There's criticism of companies that they don't have enough ethnic minority people in senior levels in their companies. Pretty much all company suffers from that accusation. So, a final point is, that the good news from what I've experienced is that leaders do have the power to break the impasse, but the approach needs to be very, very concerted, and it needs to, in many cases, change. I've learned and have so much hope through the experience of the 30% Club that allies that move beyond supporting to actually driving the change, from offering encouragement to really believing, and with their actions following through, that actually that their business success depends on having a better representation of ethnic minority people at all levels, then that really can lead to a massive breakthrough. It's not a special interest issue. This is business critical. And to achieve those results, that's when leaders need to move from these being, supportive to being real allies, to build their company strategy around the issue, to bind what they do to the issue, to include the topic on strategy day agendas, to penalize people who are racist or in any way make people feel uncomfortable, and not just focus on the issue every now and again, but make it an everyday matter, to embed it in everything that everybody does. And I'm very excited about the launch of Race Equality Matters. I feel it will help us leap forwards, because individually, people have been working so hard, doing so much. Together, your voices can be amplified, your presence can be built from individual initiatives to right across societies and industries, and help to show those who want to be allies how we can really help. And if you do that, I'm confident the results will follow. Thank you.